In what has been the year of startups, how do we choose the startups of the 80 unicorns in all, and more than half of them created this year alone? That's $1 billion startups added to the list pretty much every week. Some achieved the coveted status within months of starting up, others took a while but got to their rightful place eventually with the much needed help from the pandemic and investors who have opened their purse strings like never before and are still hungry for more. Each of the 40-odd startups who made it to the Unicorn Club carry enduring qualities that make a startup: agility, resilience, purpose, and a singular focus on the customer. These entrepreneurs are changing the way business is done and testing the traditional with technology. And the unicorns on our show today are no different. With the accelerated digital shift, these startups are unifying India's disjointed supply chains, providing a platform for talented creators in small-town India, helping home-run digital brands find scale or even modernize insurance for new-age India. Hello and welcome to our very special edition of Young Turks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shireen Bhan, and joining me on the program today, Ankush Sachdev, the co-founder and CEO of ShareChat and Moj; Ananth Narayanan, the founder of Mensa Brands; Ruchi Kalra, the co-founder of Off Business; and Varun Dua, the founder and CEO of Acco. Ruchi and gentlemen, welcome to the program. All unicorns here today. So, we were joking before the start of the program that by the end of this show, which is a 30-minute show, we're probably going to see 2 more being minted to the Unicorn Club. So we don't know how many more are going to get added by the end of the year when we do finally close out 2021. But Ananth, since you are the fastest to have achieved the unicorn status, not just in India, but in Asia, I want to address this issue with you. Many are starting to ask, is this too good to be true? Are we now seeing signs of irrational exuberance? How would you respond to that?
I don't think so, Shireen. I think, look, if you take a 10-year view, there are lots of multi-billion-dollar businesses that will be built, not in valuation, but just multi-billion-dollar businesses that are quite sustainable. At least for us at Mensa Brands, we are profitable from the first quarter. And so I think if you think about a 10-year view, you'll build a multiple billion-dollar consumer business. So people are sort of betting a little bit ahead and they're sort of seeing the trend. So I don't think they're out of whack. And I do think people are taking a little bit of the long view. And I think India in particular and Internet India in particular within that, I think have a lot of legs, right? So I think that's what people are betting on.
Okay, so legs and a lot of headroom for future growth. That's what investors are clearly betting on. But Ruchi, I want to address this issue with you because, you deal with a large part of the India that is often regarded as the backbone of the economy, the MSMEs. Now, it's been a difficult 18 months for that sector in specific. Take me through what that's meant for off business. And to Ananth's point, what have you seen change in the marketplace that gives you the kind of valuations that you are demanding today?
Yeah. So Shireen, taking your first question, in terms of what we are seeing on the MSME sector, MSME is a very broad brush, right? So what we focus on is a sizable SME and mid-corporate. And what we have seen is that there has been a lot of resilience that this specific segment has actually shown during the COVID period. There was obviously support from the government, from the banks in terms of the emergency line schemes, etc. But manufacturing and infrastructure were the first set of core sectors to actually bounce back. And we are seeing a lot of people actually seeking growth capital at this stage. And more importantly, there were elements of, you could say, like something like steel or something like packaging, FMCG. All these sectors were continuing even under lockdown, and even post-lockdown, we saw growth in these sectors. For us, how it's translated is the fact that off business has seen this resilience as well as bouncing back. And this has resulted in us adding many more value chains. As you see us, we've expanded to 9 different supply chains, including industrial chemicals, food grains, polymer packaging, for that matter, petroleum derivatives, and so on, in addition to our existing strong categories like industrial steel or for that matter, construction steel, and so on and so forth. So for us, this last 1.5 years has been a phase in terms of expanding the horizontal of the marketplace. And this has primarily happened because of bouncing back of demand. And at the same time, because of supply disruptions, it was easier to actually disintermediate some of the existing intermediaries. So for us, the last 1.5 years has been more a timing of opportunity. On what Ananth mentioned, I do think valuation actually is an outcome of value drivers. So each company has a very different sense in terms of what value driver is that is it targeting. For us, that value driver is growth, profitability. So if you look at off-business valuation, it's a straight multiple in terms of the growth and the profitability that it has been delivering, right? If you look at where we exited last year in terms of March 21 numbers, we were at a 600 million run rate. Right now, we are at a $1.5 billion run rate. And exiting March 22 would be like a $2.1 billion run rate, right? And if you look at this growth, this is what is translating in terms of its either valuation. Last year, the PBT was close to around 77 crores. This year, we are targeting a run rate exit March of around 350 crores, right? So the growth, the EBITDA, and the multiplier effect of the fact that it's become a much larger horizontal, and connecting it to Ananth's point, the valuation is actually a multiple of either the value that has been created or the potential value which is attached to it. And for off business, not only the commerce business, but also the lending business has actually shown very strong resilience in times of collection. Our NPAs as well as growth has been. So I would say there are very smart investors out there, right? And there are different value drivers. In some case, it could be engagement, customer engagement. In some case, it could be growth. And India is just catching up. Yeah. Right. So maybe there has been a lot of pent up not getting valued well, which is now getting valued appropriately.
Yeah, right? And there's a long runway ahead. Absolutely, a long runway ahead is the point that you're making. And, I remember reading, I think this was an interview that you did with a colleague of mine where you said the more unsexy a business, the more profitable it is. And that clearly seems to be the case as far as off business is concerned. But speaking of sexy, Ankush, let me come to you now. It's absolutely the opposite of the stuff that Ruchi is focusing on and what Ruchi is doing. So take me through what you've been able to do and see at ShareChat and Moj over the last year or so, and more importantly, in terms of the runway for growth, in terms of the headway for growth and monetization opportunities. What is the strategy now going to be?
Yeah, it's been an incredible year for us, and in fact, last 12-18 months have been of very rapid growth on all dimensions, be it time spent, be it even our org size. I think it's been fantastic for the business. Like, to give you an example, from I think in the last 18 months, if you look at the total time spent, users spend on our platforms, that has actually grown 10x. And this was already of a very large base. So I think over the years, as the internet has gotten really good in the country, people are also now engaging much more on the platforms. Like for us, most of our content is now very, very video centric. And now increasingly, in fact, it is very live centric. So we launched our audio live platform right during the lockdown last year, because we felt when people are in their houses alone, they would want to have that deeper connection with people, like-minded people on the internet. So we launched audio chat rooms, for example, on ShareChat, and that has been on a tear. It's growing beyond any of our expectations. And in fact, now we are doubling down on it, and both Moj and ShareChat will go heavy on live stream. So I think people are getting much deeper in terms of engagement. It is not just swiping a video now. It is more about actively trying to engage with the creator and building a connection. So I think we've come a long way from that point of view, where new internet users are on that journey. In terms of monetization, so as Ruchi mentioned, every company has different value drivers. So for a large part of our existence, we were very focused on engagement, DAOs, time spent. We still are, but we started our journey of monetization about 2 years ago. And again, that's also been a positive surprise for us in terms of ads and in terms of virtual gifting. So as I mentioned, live is a big engagement driver. It is also a big revenue driver where people can gift each other during live stream. And the third piece we are adding is the one we recently announced with Flipkart. So we will now allow people to do commerce from Moj. So if they're swiping a video, they find a great dress, they can click on it and directly buy from Flipkart. So that's the third large area through which we will monetize in the future. And so these are 3 areas how we think of